podcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Saturday late night. 8 minutes to the hour of midnight. Apologies for being late. I think this is something that was in. I told you in the morning that my weekend was bound to be tricky, but yeah, we are here to do the second half watch along for the game between Arsenal and Everton. Really keeping tabs on the game between Leeds and Crystal Palace, which is 2-0 at halftime in favor over Leeds United, just as much as it is in favor for the Arsenal at halftime at the Hill Dixon Stadium. We've seen this script before on the side of Arsenal, particularly taking a 1-0 lead at against Everton and eventually conceding an equalizer, and then and then it ends in a draw. Last season we saw that, a 1-1 draw, I think, at the Emirates, and then maybe at Goodson Park, and then a goalless draw between these two sides. Arsenal, I think, only beaten Everton once away from home, I think, in the last 6-7 fixtures. So it's a worrying statistic. It's a statement of facts. There's no hiding away from it. I do hope today that they get to win. Manchester City have already won their game, beating West Ham United by 3-0 to move to the summit of the Premier League standings. And I mean, whereas who is at the top of the Premier League table by Christmas is usually a big deal, it does not necessarily guarantee that whoever is at the summit will win it. We've seen Arsenal be there and not win it. So it's a bit of a concern, but also, like I told you in the preview of these particular games, that was bound to be the importance of this game, particularly to Arsenal, because Manchester City would have already won against West Ham, and they needed to get the job done on their part to make sure that they win a game of football, to make sure that they may retain their top slot at the summit of the Premier League standings, because Man City are currently the ones occupying that slot. As things stand, if it were to end 1-0, it would still be a victory for the Gunners, and it would take them in that particular zone where they feel that they need possibly deserve to be, but they must earn that. They must earn it to be there, to get there, So yeah. In terms of the first half, it's been typical of a first half where Hi everyone, for those of you that are just joining us, my name is Robert Kesakos and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Plenty of football news to discuss this evening. Leave me a like on the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel while you're here. Do let me know down in the comment section where you're joining us from. And we will engage. We are, like I said, we are following updates from the Arsenal game against Everton, and it's 1-0 at halftime. Victor Gyökeres with his 50th goal of the Premier League this season, scoring that one from the penalty spot against Jordan Pickford for a handball that was, that did happen in the area during a set piece. Ricardo Carafiori was trying to get his head to that ball, but it was handled, and it needed video assistant referee for the referee to be sent to the monitor to review the incident before the penalty was awarded. Otherwise, Arsenal have struggled to create, chances. It's been typical of the game we saw last against Wolves, with Arsenal having to dominate possession, but to very, very little use, because Everton are sitting really, really back deep. They retreat into a back five when defending, a 5-4-1 kind of system when they're defending. There was, I think, there was an attempt by Martin Zubimendi, but that was well over the bar. Then Declan Rice had his own attempt, but it also went over the, wide of the mark. It wasn't on target. So really, chances for the Arsenal, despite their dominance in possession, have come really, really far between. And like I said, it is typical, or it is no different from what we saw between Arsenal and Wolverhampton Wanderers at the previous weekend. So, in terms of overall statistics, this is how things look like. Arsenal had 65% of the ball. They had one corner compared to Everton, who won two. Expected goals is 1.4 for the Arsenal and zero for Everton. They've had zero shots on target or off target. On the other side, Arsenal have had one shot on target and five off target because they've had a total of six shots. So again, Arsenal dominate. My bit of frustration with this Arsenal side was with how quickly it comes to their mind to play the ball backwards than it is to go forward. It's more of they seem to be playing with the mode or with the mindset of safety first. So every time, even when they've advanced the ball into the middle third of the pitch, on the on the opponent side, once the quick at the first sight of a press, the first thought is to look back. Who can I pass to backwards? Is it a Hinkapi? Is it a Saliba? Do I have to go as far as David Raya? Is it Martin Zubimendi pulling slightly back? Is it Declan Rice? And I found that very, very frustrating, especially for a team that is looking to, to break down a low block. Then the pace of the pace with which they are carrying the ball, I feel is very, very slow. I've mentioned this before, that for you to break down a team that are playing with a low block, you ought to be really, really quick in how you progress the ball, in how you pass that ball, how you distribute it around, because otherwise you do yourself no favors. You do yourself no favors because every time you slow down the tempo of the game, you allow the opponent to retreat into their desired shape that is comfortable for them to defend. Like we've seen how the goal has come. It was O'Brien who handles the ball with, I think, both hands, at least on the replay. That's what it does appear like before the penalty is awarded. And on first glance, I thought maybe Ricardo Carafiori had headed the ball wide, and I had felt a certain level of disappointment in him having failed to hit the target in that zone. But on review, he did not even get a touch with the ball. And as much as some people disagree with the existence of VR, these are the things for which it was brought for. These are the things it was brought for. And without it, Everton would have gone away with that one. So that was a positive. Now, every now and then when it's used wrongly, that's when we come into criticism of it. And by the way, I for one, I have never criticized the system, but I have always criticized the people that use it, the people that have the mandate to use it, to implement it. Because, like I said, having evidence, having a camera to record something, whatever the camera records, is not the problem. It is how you interpret that becomes the problem. Arsenal had another penalty shout out, but I thought it was very, very loose. Victor Gyökeres appeared to have been pushed when he was trying to run onto a Bukayo Saka cross. Everton have really, really done well in doubling up on Bukayo Saka. Every time he gets the ball, Myakalenko is really close. Jack Grealish is quick to retreat and help in that mixed zone, And yet, I have felt that Jurriën Timber has been somewhat slow in joining him, and sometimes Martin Odegaard. They've been in absence for a team that overly relies on their right wing. Meanwhile, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has scored for Leeds. He did score. He was among the goal scorers there. As Leeds take the 2-0 lead into halftime against Crystal Palace. They do lead by 2-0. Both goals scored by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think, stand to be corrected, but he is arguably one of their best players, if not the very best, in as far as Leeds are concerned. I my prediction was a 2-1 victory for Crystal Palace because I thought they really, really rested their players really well for their draw in midweek. And on paper, they have a much better team this time round, but so far results are not going their way and Leeds are in that high spirit. But back to the Arsenal game. There's not much I can talk about Everton because all they did was defend, and they did so effectively. It took, I think, a moment of stupidity because I can't call it a lapse in concentration. I can't call it a moment of madness. It's just stupid. It's similar to what we saw Virgil van Dijk do in the UEFA Champions League against PSV. I mean, you're a defender, you have your arms all over the place, up in the air. Now, I'm one to always defend players for having arms up in the air because often it's a reflex action that happens in your support. But in this particular case, similar to what we saw with Virgil van Dijk, there seems to be a deliberateness of the player to stick his arms out in the way to handle the ball. He does no attempt to try and pull those arms away, which is the problem for me in this particular case, because I know what it means to jump with your arms close to your body. It's really, really very difficult. So oftentimes when they have their arms caught up in the air, I'm always want to defend them to say that was harsh because I understand what it means. I understand the context, understand the circumstances that unfortunately they cannot drop off their arms during a moment and then pick them after, defending that moment. So, but in this particular case, it seemed a bit deliberate for Jack O'Brien to handle that ball. And I do not know whether it was a consensus amongst the Arsenal leadership group, but Captain Martin Odegaard is on the turf. They decided that the penalty be given to Victor Gyökeres, who had no problem dispatching it to give Arsenal the lead. So in terms of our team setup, this is how both teams set up quickly. Arsenal, like we had predicted, David Ryan goal, William Saliba, Pierre Hincapié, Ricardo Carafiori at left back, Yohan Timber at right back, Martin Zubimendi alongside Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard. Ahead of them is Leandro Trossard to the left, Bukayo Saka to the right, and Victor Gyökeres, in the center in a 4-3-3 kind of system. On the side of Everton, they have Jordan Pickford in goal. They have James Tarkowski, the captain, Michael Keane as their center-back pairing. They have Mykolenko at left back and Jack O'Brien at right back. They have James Garner in midfield. They have Irio Banham in that midfield. Alcaraz ahead of those two. Jack Grealish to the left wing and James McNeil to the right wing, with Tony Barry leading the lines. In terms of the bench, Arsenal have quite pretty strong one with Gabriel Jesus, Eberechi Eze, Gabriel Martinelli, Kepa Arrizabalaga, Christian Nogard, Noni Madueke, Ethan Nwaneri, Mikel Merino, and Mars Lewis Kelly. On the other side, Everton feel a bit lightweight with Nathan Peterson, Beto, Mark Travers, that's a goalkeeper, Tyler Debring, the kid they signed from Southampton, Tom King, Malin Roll, Adam Azuno, Reche Welch, and Elijah Campbell. That's the bench for the side of Everton. So really, like I said, not much separated the two sides. Arsenal tried to create, a few moments, but there were no really, really clear-cut chances that were missed that you could really fault them for. Like I said, it was typical of what we've seen of Arsenal, pass the ball sideways, knock it around, hoping to break, Everton, but I feel they are being hard done by their own slowness in pace, in speed of transitioning that ball. There's a moment when they went for a break, and I think it was Bukayo Saka. Instead of finding Martin Odegaard the best option, he attempted to find Victor Gyökeres, and that ball hit a dead end because it turned out to be a blind pass. Then there was another attempted, I think, through ball by Martin Odegaard. Nobody could latch onto it. Leandro Trossard attempted one. It was blocked. So, yeah, Everton, like I said, they've been really, really pretty solid in that sort of back line and, the way they've gone about things. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how things will turn out in the second half. Meanwhile, the game between Crystal Palace and Leeds is back for the second half because they went into halftime a little earlier or slightly earlier than those of Arsenal because Arsenal had extra minutes added into their game. But quickly, in the other fixtures, Newcastle and Chelsea shared the spoils in a 2-all draw. Nick Volt murder with the brace in that one, while Joao Pedro and Richie James were the goal scorers to restore parity for Chelsea. Richie James scoring from a free kick. Bournemouth shared the spoils. Our prediction for that one had been a 1-all draw. Bournemouth, who we thought would beat up against Burnley by 2-1, shared the spoils in a 1-all draw, while Brighton and Sunderland settled for a goalless draw. But Erling Haaland scored a brace as Manchester City beat up against West Ham by 3-0, while the other goal was scored by Tijan Rienders. Then in the other fixture, Brentford beat up against Wolverhampton Wanderers by 2-0. I thought Wolves would get their first victory this weekend, but Lewis Potter could not let them have their early Christmas. So they got beat by 2-0. Liverpool managed to overcome Tottenham Hotspurs, who finished the game with 2 players less. So they finished it down to 9 men after the sending off of Harvey Simmons for a dangerous tackle on Virgil van Dijk. That was in the first half. And then in the second half, Christian Romero, who had been fouled by Ibrahim Konate, won a free kick, but he reacted and attempted to throw his left leg in the arm of Ibrahim Konate to try and harm him as if to revenge for the incident. And he got a second booking, so he was equally sent off, which I thought was really, really stupid. But I mean, it's Christian Romero. You do expect that. But Alexander Isak was the goal scorer. He scored to open the booklet there for Liverpool. Unfortunately, he got injured while scoring that goal for a tackle by Mickey van de Ven. So it did appear to be a knee injury, and it appeared to be nasty. Not in the moment or the nature of contact, but the way the player reacted to it. You could see straight off that he was really, really deep in pain. He felt, I don't know, I don't want to say disgusted, but he felt really, really disappointed that he had suffered that injury. And you do feel for him because he's a player that he's been in and out of this team, through injury, trying to find his footing. He's now so far scored 2 goals for Liverpool in the Premier League. The first coming in November when they were up against West Ham in that 2-0 victory, and today when they beat up against Spurs by 2-1. The other goal scorer was Hugo Ekitike, who I thought committed a foul in the build-up to his goal. He does push, I think, Christian Romero before he heading that ball into the back of the net. And then second half substitute Richarlison scored when Liverpool failed to clear from a resultant set piece, which was a corner kick. They failed to clear the lines, and Richarlison scored to make it 2-1. It was a bit of a nervous ending there for Liverpool, but Alisson Ramsey-Becker stood tall and stayed strong and helped his team see out a 2-1 victory. Our prediction had been a 3-2 victory for Liverpool, but I do not think any of us would have anticipated 2 red cards for the side of Tottenham, today. Arsenal kicking off the second half quite dangerously, almost conceding an equalizer very, very early on into the game. We're into the 48th minute of the second half for that one. So, the second half is back. So let's return to that. But like I said, in the other game, Leeds are still leading by 2-0. Goals by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I stand to be corrected, but he should be having 5 or 6 goals now to his name in terms of the scorer's sheet, even ahead possibly of Victor Gyökeres, who has 5. I don't know. But my suspicions rotate around there, So If any of you has, the actual number, you can let us know down in the comment section. So let's enjoy that second half from Arsenal need to win this game. Otherwise, it's going to be a barrage of, being called butlers. I've already seen some rival fans react to that, saying because at one point they had a 7 point lead. If we are being honest, they've had their own belief in form, particularly following those against Sunderland, Chelsea. They lost to Aston Villa. It didn't look good, so that's how they conceded their 7 point lead to for it to be reduced to two, and eventually to be cut to nothing following that victory for Manchester City, as we wait for the conclusion of this particular game to see how it will end. Really, I predicted a 2-0 victory for the Arsenal. I can't help it feel that they could concede because over the last couple of games, they've been really, really vulnerable to conceding. They have lapses in concentration. Um, they are often the architects of their own downfall when it comes to conceding, especially in the last couple of games. It's how, I don't know if they get too comfortable or they think they're somehow untouchable. I just do not know. I just do not know. But it's not looked pretty in recent couple of games, particularly in the Premier League, because in the UEFA Champions League, they've been okay. They've been okay. They've only conceded one goal. That was against Bayern Munich, a game which they still managed to win by 3 goals to one. In terms of what maybe Mikel Arteta could tweak to get this team going, I did not fault any player really much on that Arsenal side to say that they were underperforming. It was an overall team, I think, where they are not moving the ball quick enough, and that kind of thing. So, like I said, they did appear to be a little too negative, in my opinion, with how they moved, with how they were quickly they were quickly retreating backwards as opposed to going forward. Um, Oh, that was a brilliant run from Victor Yokeres. Quickly played in by Leandro Trossard with the outside of his foot. That's the kind of thing he wants. Although his teammates are a bit late to the party, so he can't play them in. James Tarkowski has been really, really intent on following him up the pitch wherever he's gone or been. But yeah, I feel Arsenal need to move that ball much quicker. Where's the cutback? Bukayo Saka with a serious attempt, but Jordan Pickford is there to make the save. It was, he plays in Urian Timber, makes the cut back to him. And is it, I think it was James Tarkowski actually who made the clearance, not Pickford. It was well, on the carpet. You figure maybe if it was somewhere high, maybe it would have troubled them. But at least that was a sharp moment for the Arsenal. They need to create more of those moments. They need to disassociate themselves with the comfort that may come with a marginal 1-0 lead, in as far as not just this game is concerned, but in any other games that they may be involved in later on. They've done well to attract the press, but they've not done well to effectively beat it. Oh, There's a penalty appeal here for a tackle by Martin Zubimendi on Tony Barry. Does he get the ball? No, he doesn't get the ball. This could be a penalty. Uh, I think it's outside the area, so it may be hard to be given. But if it were inside the box, then Arsenal would have considered a penalty because Zubimendi did not get a touch on that ball whatsoever. I think the incident is similar to what I saw in the Tottenham Liverpool game where Tottenham were appealing for a penalty. There was an incident there, but again, the ball was outside. The foul was committed from the outside of the area, you know. They need to move that ball much quicker, much quicker. What is Carafiori thinking? He just literally ran himself out of possession. Literally. Leandro Trossard, who he told to move to the left, as though wanting to play him a through pass, and he just ran himself into traffic. You know, it's starting to look a bit nervous for the Arsenal. William Saliba, what a poor pass. He should be doing better in that moment. Let's see. Oh, come on. Arsenal starting to look all over the place. They can hardly stick the ball to their feet. It's just being knocked around, up and about. They're not having a good hold of a foot on the ball. It feels it's being knocked against walls. That wall kind of moment where you feel every pass you attempt is being intercepted. It's like you playing the ball against the wall, and instead of bouncing directly back to you, it bounces sideways and that kind of thing. So Arsenal having that kind of moment for the start to this second half. I think they need to sort of relax a bit, try to. They came back with the right attitude in terms of improving on their pace, but they just I think they're used to that slow game so much that when they try to move things quicker, struggle. The one player that I do expect to see in this game is Gabriel Jesus. He's had two brilliant cameos against Club Brugge and against Wolverhampton Wanderers. So he's one of those players that I do expect to see in this game at some point in the game. What is Jokeres thinking? How stupid does that have to be? Does he not know the rules? I mean, the ball is fine, the opponents have. Why do you need to kick to knock it away? Why? It's stupid. It's a stupid booking. And these are the things I keep saying players need to cut out. Arsenal survive a scare, but there's a penalty appeal in that box. I don't know whether it was for a handball, but Leeds, meanwhile, have scored the third. It's 3-0 against Crystal Palace. And I wouldn't have seen that coming. I've seen this be given. William Saliba kicks Tony Barry in the foot. I've seen this be given. Could be a penalty. Good morning, it's Robert and welcome. Hi Pedri, how are you doing? We could see a penalty be given back here. Um, we could see a second penalty in this game. And this time around being given against the Arsenal for William Saliba's kick on Thornbury there in the area. Now, I'm one of those that have expressed my dissatisfaction with those kinds of penalties. And what caused me to have an issue with it, I remember it was a game between Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur when Musa Sissoko was still at Tottenham Hotspur. So what happened was Musa Sissoko has the ball in his stride, and he's ready himself. He's already in motion to kick the ball away, and then somehow Sadio Mane, in a nick of time, comes to nick the ball off. Now, in the attempt to nick the ball away, Musa Sissoko was already let his leg loose, goes and kicks Sadio Mane in the back of his leg. He has no zero awareness that Sadio Mane has arrived, and a penalty was given. Ever since then, I've had issues with those kinds of penalties. I've seen them be given on multiple occasions. And I'm thinking to myself, I know a player is supposed to have that sort of awareness on the pitch, but he does not have eyes at the back of his head to say, okay, I'm already in motion to strike this ball, but suddenly somebody has, put their leg across, you know? I mean, it's a bit of a no for me in that particular case because it's more like you're seeking it. It's not different from you intentionally uh, seeking a foul to, earn a penalty. Piero Hincapi will have to be very, very careful. He's busy pulling Tony Barry. He dragged him to the floor and he's been booked with a yellow card. I don't know why David Moyes is protesting. Is he demanding for a red card? I don't know if he was the last man. Arsenal starting to look panicky, and Everton are capable of bringing that out in them, they're capable of bringing that out in you. It's more like the Arsenal Everton game is more like that game between Arsenal and Newcastle. It has that element to it, that bit of edginess, that bit of physicalness, you know. So I mean, it's a it's a bit of an issue, really. So they tend to fall prey for those kinds of teams. They struggle with that kind of play. When you try and get in their faces, when knock them, when you're overly physical, you cause them to make silly fouls like that tag or by Hinkapi on Tony by those kinds of issues. If I'm being honest, Everton have looked the sharper side in the second half. Unfortunately for them, they have yet to create a moment, a goal scoring moment. They've tried to go on the break, but it's not been a pretty. Nobody in the overlap. Here they come. Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka in the area, blocked. Michael Keane. Exactly. That's what Everton are going to do. Be sure they will block like as many as 10 shots. You know, that's why against them, if you're going to take a shot or attempt one, you ought to be a microsecond early for you to get it through. Jesus Christ. What kind of scrappy moment was that in the Crystal Palace box for that game against Leeds? Oh, Dean Henderson with a brilliant save in that game. It's still 3-0 in favor of Leeds. I wouldn't have imagined Leeds would be that good against Crystal Palace. But like I've said this before, when these teams meet, especially teams that feel that they are within the same realm, they play an open game, they let loose, because they believe, yeah, that guy is a match against us. So they are not as conservative as when they meet the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Manchester Cities sometimes. Dean Henderson is undergoing through treatment in that game on the side of the Arsenal Everton game, missing much. Arsenal knocking it up and about with no, real harm to Everton. Zubimendi has just decided to play blind pass totally. He's not having a brilliant game in the second half, Zubimendi. Everton are preparing to bring on Beto. Arsenal preparing to bring on Gabriel Jesus. I don't know whether it will be Victor Gyökeres that will be sacrificed or it will be Leandro Trossard. Because Leandro Trossard could be sacrificed because Gabriel Jesus can play anywhere on the left, on the right. But I sense Mikel Arteta thinks he needs that bit of pressure, that better hold-up play, sort of come deep, carry the ball for what Gabriel Jesus can offer, perhaps slightly better than Victor Gyökeres at the moment. Brilliant move. Wow. Declan Rice just hit the upright. It's a beautiful play. It was a beautiful, brilliant move there. Martin Odegaard, playing in Declan Rice, sees Trossard, puts that ball on the plate, and he opens up his body. He's going, to the opposite direction. Jordan Pickford was already beaten, but it hits the upright. Still 1-0. And those are the kinds of chances that you need to put away when you're playing against such teams. When you are playing in the Premier League, Victor Gyökeres, 1 hour has been deemed enough for him. Gabriel Jesus is on. Declan Rice just hit the upright. It was a brilliant play. It was Leandro Trossard, not Declan Rice. Beto has come on for Tony Barry, and Victor Gyökeres has been swapped out for Gabriel Jesus. I think Gabriel Jesus will give Arsenal a little bit of a different dynamic up front. He's a bit of an erratic kind of player, all over the place kind of thing. I'm hate watching Real Madrid versus Sevilla. I think maybe it's a game I need to keep an eye on. Let me see if I can access it on my feed here. Actually, instead of keeping tabs on that game between Leeds and Crystal Palace, I should look out for the Real Madrid game. They are leading by a goal to nil. Pedri, do let us know down there who did score for Real Madrid. It's not looking good because Sevilla got a red card. Oh, already? Oh, I've seen. Alexis Sanchez, former Arsenal Barcelona player, and Manchester United is playing for the Sevilla side. I need to. I'm trying to put Real Madrid on somewhere here. Okay, yeah. Bukayo Saka is on the floor. I don't know why. because I was busy looking for the Real Madrid game and I missed the incident. But if he's not feeling well and he's feeling a nudge, he may as well go off. And we have Noni Madueke. Let's have a different player out there. Judy Bellingham, El Garrido got the goal. I'm happy because I want to see him in the England squad for the World Cup because many England fans are against him starting in the World Cup. I'm not particularly sure that is the case. It's I think it's been a simple preference for Thomas Tuchel to go with Morgan Rogers, who equally is on good form. Scored a brace last weekend against West Ham, and like he said, for the perfect balance for their team, they cannot play Judy Bellingham, Morgan Rogers, and Phil Foden in the same team. So it's a bit of a catch-22. He's been playing a double pivot of Elliot Anderson and Declan Rice in his team. So we'll have to wait and see. I just want all big players to play. I understand that's what you want for them. I understand that's what you want for them, but sometimes too many stars spoil the soup. Oh, Martin Zubimendi hit the best of the upright. I understand you wanting too many stars, but sometimes too many cooks, spoil the soup. So at the end of the day, you want them to play as a team, but sometimes too many stars do not actually play that way. There's a lot of egos. The way Martin Zubimendi had clipped that ball off the floor and it hits the base of the upright, is looking at the pinpoint bottom corner there. That's another opportunity that Arsenal failed to convert. And these chances that they are missing, I hope they won't come to regret them when it comes to the later stages of the game. Otherwise, they need to double their lead to have a slim semblance of comfort for now. Otherwise, this thin 1-0 lead is as thin as the whiskers of a cat. Real Madrid bringing on Eduardo Camavinga. That game is in the 73rd minute. Thereabouts. We're into similar timeline for the Arsenal game. Like I said, one goal still separates the two sides. Leeds are in the 74th minute. Adagula was the player withdrawn to accommodate Eduardo Camavinga. I don't know. I have a nervous feeling that Arsenal could consider an equalizer anytime soon. Sooner or later. Come on. Those arms were besides him. I understand. It will be checked. But those arms for Piero Hincapi looked to be beside him. Oh, come on. He does brilliantly well there. Oh, the back heel for Declan Rice did not match him from Bukayo Saka, but at least they did well to move that ball much quicker. And you see, that's the issue with Gabriel Jesus. He moves out of the area where he's supposed to be receiving the ball, and he ends up away from where he's supposed to be when a goal scoring opportunity comes. They've created some goal scoring chances, about 3 good ones in this second half. They've missed them all. And if you're an Arsenal fan, you ought to be worried out there because Everton may need just one to restore parity. Stay with them. Everton are without Keenan Risbury Hall, who has been one of the standout players for them this season. Oh, come on. How backward does that game have to be? It's really, really poor. Exactly. Arsenal still trying to find a second goal, but it is eluding them. Because Saka can't believe he wasn't awarded a corner kick back there. I don't know. I feel we could use some new fresh legs here. When it comes to this left wing, Zubimendi, you're not alone in the pitch. Oh, Karafury, you don't need to overplay that. That's not a risk you needed to take. Tyler Dibling, one of those elite youngsters in as far as English football is concerned. His former manager, Russell Martin, spoke really, really highly of him. Alcaraz being withdrawn for Tyler Dibling. Let's wait. Let's wait and see. Uh-oh. Come on. Fight for that ball. Nice recovery from Timber. William Saliba had had a bad scare there. Arsenal needs some fresh legs down the left flank. Maybe we should be getting a Gabriel Martinelli. Uh-oh. To have just fresh legs running in terms of helping with the counter press. You could use some fresh legs in that midfield. I feel that the game is getting away from Martin Zubimendi. Feel he should be withdrawn for either Mikel Merino or Christian Nogard. Somebody, some fresh legs in that middle of the park. Otherwise, Arsenal have defended a bit nervously in the second half. There have been some close calls where, would have seen the worst. What Everton are doing is putting balls in the box, as many balls as they can afford to put, long balls in there. So it's up to the Arsenal defenders to be up to the challenge, or for David Raya to come and collect. So far, they've done fairly well, but there've been some nervous moments. You know, and because Gabriel Jesus is not that tall, so it's really hard to play for him that long ball, high sky, because he's not going to fight to get his head on to it. His diminutive height does not permit him to do that. Oh, brilliant ball. Odegaard, where is that ball? Come on. Oh, Alexis Sanchez trying to conjure up something late on here for Sevilla against Real Madrid. Oh, couldn't make anything good of it. Oh, that moment once again from Leandro Trossard when he hits the upright. Pedro says Tyler Debring career is being wasted under the darkness and in the shadows. He has ruined his career by joining this awful club. This club has ditched the man who carried them last year, Dwight McNeil. I mean, Dwight McNeil, yeah, he's been sacrificed to accommodate Keenan Risbury Hall because he used to, but he's a good player. He's not uh, consistently well enough, but that happens with players that play for those kinds of teams. You know, oh, so for the case of Tyler Dibling, I know he's a youngster, and you see the thing that comes with climbing the ladder, especially coming from a team like Southampton to sort of the next level, which in this particular case is Everton, is sometimes you're not going to be that trusted as you were at your previous team. And sometimes it's a case of managers. Some managers just trust certain players. David Raya is trying to throw a disclaimer for his poor pass to Pierre Hincapi. He's trying to throw a disclaimer for his poor pass to Pierre Hincapi, but he knows he should have done better with that ball. First of all, he delays to make the pass, and then he overplays it. Oh, is Gabriel Martinelli ever aware of his spaces? Because I feel he runs with his face down, that it denies him the vision that he needs to have for the rest of the pitch in regards to how he carries that ball forward. I'm starting to see patterns of what I saw in that game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Arsenal trying to do game management. The unfortunate bit is they choose to do it in their own half. That's very dangerous. You cannot be doing it in your own half because then you put yourself at risk. You put yourself at huge risk because the moment you concede possession, you're already to the disadvantage because the opponent is already in your own half. Trying to be patient here. Oh, come on, Odegaard. Rid yourself of the ball. He wants a foul that is not going to come. You're putting your team at a disadvantage just because you're delaying play. For what? Do the simple thing. Players like Martin Odegaard sometimes think they need to carry the whole burden of the team. No, do the simple thing and let your teammates help you. He had an opportunity to pass that ball. Meanwhile, Kylian Mbappe has scored to make it 2-0 for Real Madrid against Sevilla. So they hold on to the ball for a little longer than they should, hoping that they are the solution for whatever the team is trying to solve. And yet, harm of the view is that play that ball to your teammates, let them also think, give you a moment to catch a breath before you ask for that ball back. Kylian Mbappe scoring from the penalty spot. Brilliant penalty. Uh-oh. That's a poor ball from Pierre Hincapi. I don't know why. There's this weakness for the Arsenal players to play in their teammate, and then they play them into trouble. And I'm thinking to myself, why? Especially when there's a bit of pressure on the ball. Mikel Arteta is waiting for the resurrection of the Queen to do more changes to this team. And that's been one of his undoings this season. Especially when he has a narrow lead in the game, he tends to think that the team he has on the pitch is good enough to hold on to that lead. We saw that against Sunderland when they were leading by 2-1. He refused to make changes, and yet he could have made changes to bring on players like Christian Noga, to bring on some fresh legs, to give his team some running legs. There's a penalty review in the Real Madrid game against Sevilla. No penalty. Come on, that's not a penalty. He clearly gets the ball. He clearly gets the ball. Whether it's from behind or what, he clearly gets the ball. If they award that as a penalty, I'm going to consider them crooks. It's not a penalty. I think he had given it as a penalty, and then he was called to review. Meanwhile, Martin Odegaard has been withdrawn to pave way for Mikel Merino. I mean, something he should have done a long time ago. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace did score to pull one back against Leeds United. It was a penalty by Daveni in the 92nd minute of that game. Arsenal are still trying to find the second goal in this game, but it's still eluding them. Again, Martinelli is lacking support down the left wing. And then after people will say, oh, he's not succeeding down the left wing. He's not having the support of the left back coming to do the overlap, or the number 8 coming to do, to offer him a playing option. At the end of the day, he's left isolated. Gabriel Martinelli tempted to delay a restart there by hitting the ball back to the advertising boards. Again, where's the support for him? Again, there's nobody there. Mikel Merino, in trying the trickery, almost got James Tarkowski to score for him, but they were never going to be that lucky. Carafiori had no awareness that the ball was being played back to him. Gabriel Jesus chose to stay behind. Typical of him. Typical of him. Oh, it was 6 minutes of added time, and what is Gabriel Jesus thinking? Jesus Christ. Arsenal players trying to walk that ball into the back of the net. It's not going to work. Saka nearly scored from the corner kick, just like Bruno Guimaraes did a couple of weeks back. Is it a couple of weeks or just a week? Let's see. Come on, get on with it. It's not trying to run down the clock. It's not yet over. Remember the game against Wolves. Wolves' equalizer came really, really late in the game, before Mosquera scored to make it 2-1. Into the 93rd minute of stoppage time, 94th. 6 minutes were added, but that's a minimum. The rule says a minimum of what the referee is given, not the ultimate. Oftentimes, football fans get disappointed when a game is played on beyond what time was added, forgetting what the rules say. Uh-oh. Oh, Martin Zubimendi, why are you trying to pass that ball? Oh, did it not hit his hand? Come on. Again, they go to David Fire. Rice is asking who is in the area, who is running there. Absolutely nobody. Because Jesus, who is supposed to be there, is down the left wing. And by the time Gabriel Martinelli makes the dart to go there, it's already late. Mikel Merino busy seeking out a foul where there's none. Meanwhile, the game for Real Madrid has been wrapped up. Real Madrid winning that game by 2-0. The game between Crystal Palace and Leeds United is close to ending. It's in the 98th minute. Jordan Pickford. Come on. Close him down. Don't go back to Raya. What are you thinking? You have Saka up front, you have Martinelli up front, and you go back to the goalkeeper. Oh, it's game over. Arsenal 1, 0 Everton. Full-time score. They have restored their lead at the summit of the Premier League standings going into Christmas. The next game will be up against Brighton before meeting Aston Villa on the 30th of December. But before the Brighton game, they will be up against Crystal Palace in the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup. At long last, it's been a victory for the Arsenal, winning that game by 1-0. That goal scored by Victor Gyökeres. It was a penalty. It will matter less. They have still won. Meanwhile, Leeds have scored through Anthony Stach in the 11th minute of stoppage time to make it 4-1. Looks like they are on course to win that game. Equally, tomorrow there's only one game in the Premier League at 7:30 p.m. between Aston Villa and Manchester United. But we have some major news regarding the Africa Cup of Nations, because starting the year 2032, or at least after the 2028 edition, the competition will be played after 4 years. The CAF executive have made the decision that after the 2025 edition, we will play the 2027 Pamoja Beat edition of the Africa Cup of Nations. Ordinarily, the Africa Cup of Nations was being played every 2 years. It used to be there every 2 even years. And then because sometimes it coincided with the World Cup, it was shifted to an ODR. For those of you that do remember, we played an Africa Cup of Nations in 2012, and then we played in 2013, and then we played in 2015. So after 2012, that's when we shifted from even years to odd years. That's why we played in 2013, and then we played in 2015. So then 2017, 2019, 2021, and the situation moved on at 2023, which was played in 2024. Now, a lot of people have criticized the move or the decision by CAF to shift it from a 2-year or biennial tournament to a 4-year tournament. I, for one, I do welcome the decision. Why? Because what has been happening, in my opinion, is that we play Africa, AFCON, and then as soon as the tournament is done, we are literally playing AFCON qualifiers. And then you're thinking, didn't we just wrap that one up? Now I understand that's what, ordinarily we've been used to. And some people that are negative to the change seem to think that it's been influenced by, by Europe or by the whites, for lack of a better word. But whether we've copied the Euros, whether we were advised by FIFA, whether it was we were encouraged to change, for me, I welcome it as a wonderful change. Now, among the changes, they are going to do away with CHAN, the African Nations Championships that have been promoting local talent. Now, we are moving to the African Nations League, similar to what they have over there in the UEFA Nations League. Now, I'm yet to ascertain what the formalities will be for that competition, but we'll get to find out in due time. But those are significant changes. Then, they've also increased the prize money for the Africa Cup of Nations winner from $7 million to $10 million when Patrice Motsepe took over. I think it was around, was it $3 million? And then they moved it to 5 and then to 7. I think it was at 5 at the time, but it used to be 3. So, I mean, that's a significant increase, really, and a huge positive for African football in terms of, football development, in terms of infrastructure development, national team development. If the respective winning federations put the money to good use, that's really, really very significant. The one thing I've loved about Patrice Motsepe's leadership is that I think they've done well in marketing the Africa Cup of Nations. 2, they've not gotten bullied. They've increased sort of their revenue through the sale of, broadcast rights and things like that, which is really, really good, and naming rights and things like that. It's really, really good. I think his leadership, you may critique them for some questionable decisions made along the way, particularly, for example, how the African Nations Championships, the recently concluded edition, was sort of delayed because Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania were not done with, their facilities upgrade to accommodate the tournament of that level and things like that. But he is well-meaning, he's well-intentioned in pushing the African brand. And make no mistake, they were influential in that bid for Morocco to be co-hosts of the 2030 edition of the World Cup. And I stand, if we retain him or his leadership, and I'm not saying he should stay there permanently, but if whoever takes over from him eventually has a similar thought process, I do not think it will be too far long down the road that we will see a World Cup return fully to an African country, So it's really, really positive and very, very encouraging what they are doing. But like I said, some of these decisions are not going to be welcomed by all parties. Some parties will think or will feel that perhaps we could have taken maybe a different direction or something. But I, for one, I will maintain that it is a welcome decision. It's a very, very good decision. Because, I mean, for crying out loud, we've been asking for players to have a bit of leg room in terms of rest. Again, we'll get to the modalities of it later. Now, you see that we're going to play the 2027 edition and then quickly the 2028 edition. Now, I'm waiting to see what the qualifying um, mechanism will be for the 2028 edition, because after the 2028 edition, the next edition will be in 2032. So that means also that during that period of time, the 4 years, I suspect that again, prize money will be increased, but also I think it is going to improve on the eagerness of the AFCON. Like, because sometimes fans feel like, we just finished that one yesterday. I mean, we played AFCON in 2024, at the start of 2024, and we're at the end of 2025, and it's another edition, which is okay. I had no problem with it. But you know how we look forward to the World Cup? You know how we look forward to the Euros, because it's been 4 years until the next edition. So that sort of bit of thirstiness for the competition. The same way you would, let's say, pay to see to watch an artist. If you're watching them every 2 weeks or every month at your local bar, then when they organize a big concert, you may not be eager to go and watch them. So when we push it to 4 years, for me, I feel, we can only pray that God grants us the life, that when we get there, that we get there to 2032, wherever the destination will be. I feel that there will have been more, there will be more anticipation towards that, more anticipation towards that. So I do not know what the CAF master plan is, but I like the way Motsepe is leading, the way he's aiding infrastructure development across countries, whatever he is doing, whether it's technical advice, whether it's financial, contribution and anything in that regard. I really like it, because countries are being intentional on developing their infrastructure. Now, not all of them, because at the end of the day, not all of them have the same resources. For example, to host the AFCON, it's you must be backed by your government to say, we will put in the resources to improve the infrastructure. Particularly, Uganda have built the Hoima City Stadium. It's a 20,000-seater stadium. It has a running track. It has an Olympic-sized swimming pool out of it. It has an outdoor training pitch. It has a tennis court. It has a basketball court. It has a netball court. It has an indoor games arena, which is, I think, a 5,000-seater or thereabout. Is it 5,000 or 2,000? Whichever the number is. But what SUMA did, or what the government have done to invest in that project, is a move in the right direction. Now, soon they intend to reconstruct the Lugogo Indoor Arena. I can't really wait for that. I want it to be big. I want it to be massive. I want it to be beautiful, to be an attraction center. But also, I think Nambole, the way we went with the local, company, the UPDF, who, they're very good guys when it comes to construction. But when we compare what Suma did with Amahoro Stadium in terms of revamping it, what UPDF did does not even come half to that. Of course, the budgets were different. Were different, that I understand, but still, we've dedicated. But also the refurbishment of Nambole itself is a positive. And then they're doing the John Akibwa Stadium in Lira, I think. So we need another. In Masaka, I don't know whether it's government, but the Masaka Recreation Stadium is undergoing some level of development. I don't know. I feel that government should be supporting Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa of Vipers to at least pave the road leading to St. Mary's Stadium, Chitende. Nachivubo is just a glorified Sunday League pitch, if I'm being honest, when it comes to international standards. In terms of the infrastructure facilities within the stadium, they're a bit okay, gym, what, but First of all, it has AstroTurf, which is no longer recommended for those kinds of competitions. Two, stadium access is really difficult. Parking is very small. It is surrounded by all sorts of skyscrapers, which is not recommended for a stadium, and those kinds of things. So I do not consider that one. I mean, I think we should be doing at least another two or three. They do not have to be big. They do not have to be the size of Hoima. They just have to be, even if 15,000 seaters. That kind of capacity, so that in post tournaments, our local clubs can take them on in a public-private partnership kind of thing for sustenance and things like that. And then I was of the view that to nurture a sporting culture in this country, whoever is given a road project, they must commit to set up a basketball court, a netball court, and a volleyball court. Those, I know, those can be interchangeably used in every major town. Let them do those. Simple. It doesn't have to be anything big. The space has to be big. Of course, there will be facilities like dressing rooms and washing rooms that are the local councils, because we have a decentralized kind of a system that help running them, but so that kids and youth can go there in the evening, practice, play, and inter-school competitions, things like that. But I do not know, for those who plan for our country, what their views are. But for me, that is it for me. Really. So really, we wait and see. What will happen in the coming days. So, but yeah, that announcement for me from CAF is a very, very welcome decision, in my opinion, to move the competition to 4 years. Every 4 years, it will build on the anticipation. But yeah, that's my comment about that. Many seem confused about, this is a reaction to that. Many seem confused about the CAF president, Patrice Motsepe, said what Motsepe said today. So here's a breakdown. AFCON 2025 kicks off tomorrow in Morocco, of course. AFCON 2027, after that, will be the next AFCON. After that will be in 2027, hosted by jointly Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. That's the case, the Pamoja bit. Following that, another AFCON will be held in 2028, and from 2032 onwards, the tournament will adopt a 4-year cycle. That's 2032, 2036, etc. 2040. I mean, now you can see they've been intentional on avoiding a World Cup here. That's for starters. Now, what will happen is that the tournament will coincide with the Euros. What I expect is for Africa to continue playing its tournament in January, regardless of the disruptions it may come with, so that we do not find ourselves competing for watch time with the Euros in any given calendar year. So we acknowledge the Euros are way miles ahead of us. So additionally, CAF will launch an African Nations League starting in 2029, which will be held every 2 years. Now, initially, some reports had indicated it will happen every 1 year, and I found that unrealistic. Now, every 2 years, that's a welcome deal. Because the temperament or the seriousness of a UEFA Nations League, similar to what I expect will be with the African Nations League, which is replacing CHAN in a way, will not have that bit of temperament, but it gives room for countries to nurture their talents ahead of bigger tournaments. So if the question is, now, again, you can see that it will be played in 2029. That means every 2 years, they will be looking to play it in odd years. So if it's 2029, then the next edition will be 2031, Helena Slays says, hi, Helena. Good to have you back on the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had a wonderful day. So really, that paints the perfect picture, or tells the story. Of course, more developments will come to the resonance of those facts, but I find that really, really, very encouraging. The new structure is aimed at giving African football a more organized and predictable calendar, while also creating more competitive opportunities for national teams. So when it comes to a more structure, we know that okay, like any other tournament, it was disrupted by COVID. Then we've had AFCON be played in June. We've had AFCON be played in January. We've had AFCON be now being starting in December. We seem to be all over the place. Again, the reason for that is particularly because of qualifiers. Because you're playing AFCON qualifiers, you have World Cup qualifiers that are coinciding in the same year where you have AFCON and things like that. Then you have CHAN. So if we have 4 years to prepare for a tournament, really, I mean, when it gives ample time for host nations, more ample time for host nations to, prepare and things like that, but also you do not expect much disruptions when it comes to fixture schedules or calendars to be undetermined because you have 4 years to plan for that. A lot of things would have happened. So yeah, for me, it's a very, very welcome decision in that regard. Whether you share the common view, the view of others that we're being influenced by the white side of things or the white man, that's a whole different story. So anyways, so yeah, Arsenal have won their game and they're back to the summit of the Premier League, and then and then of course Leeds have really, really surprised me. I didn't think they would blow Crystal Palace out of the water. Crystal Palace started with a really, really strong team because they had, Jean Philippe Mateta, they had Eddie Nketiah in that team. They had Jeremy Pino, Will Hughes, Adam Wharton, Nathan Elkline, Tyreek Mitchell, McQuay, Maxence Lacrosse, Chris Richards, and then Dean Henderson. I mean, they had a really, really strong team that started out there, but they got done by Leeds, who beat them by 4-1. The biggest, goal, winning margin. Okay, not winning margin because the margin is still 3-0, but at least the game had more goals than any other game so far in this weekend in the Premier League. So yeah, in the other results, okay, just quickly, maybe a look at the Premier League table. Arsenal have moved back. Their tally is now 39 points at the summit of the standings, with only 2 points ahead of Manchester City, who have won 5 consecutive Premier League games now, just as much as Aston Villa have done. Recently, they play tomorrow against Manchester United. Kato Ponciano Kakoza says hi. Hi, Kato. Why are you joining us from Kato? Omorongo Kato. How are you doing, my brother? Welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. Yeah, I'm also coming live from Kampala, Uganda. We've just concluded that watch along for the game between Arsenal and Everton, really skipping our tabs on the game between Leeds and Crystal Palace, and then the game between Real Madrid and Sevilla, which Real Madrid won by 2-0. Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe from the penalty spot on the score sheet in that one. So Arsenal lead the pile after 17 games, 39 points. Manchester City comes second with 37 points. Aston Villa 33 points with a game to spare. Chelsea are following their 2-2 draw against Newcastle at 29 points. Liverpool seem to have caught up with them following their 2-1 victory over Tottenham Hotspurs to 29 points. Sunderland shared the spoils against Brighton in a goalless draw, so it puts them at 27 points. United in 7th place at 26 points. They will be looking, if they can upset Aston Villa, then they could move within the realms of Chelsea and Liverpool in terms of their point study. I'm from Uganda, Luwero, Bamunanika. That's where Kato is joining us from. How is Luwero? I've been to Luwero before, but what is the name of that place? Warbulenzi, yes, I've been to Warbulenzi. There's a big hardware there called Tofa Hardware, where I used to do some computer servicing. Tell me about Kenan Yildiz transfer to Arsenal. I mean, there's been a huge speculation regarding Kenan Yildiz, the young Turkish international who plays for Juventus. Very, very brilliant attacking midfielder, largely plays as a 10, pops up and scores many goals. I've seen him come to the rescue of Juventus on multiple occasions. He's a very exciting talent. He falls in the same realms with the likes of Nico Paz, who plays for Como. There's been enormous speculation linking him with the potential move to Arsenal, but Arsenal are not the only team that are interested in his services. Previously, Chelsea have been linked with the potential move for the player. I think it was Liverpool that were also rumored. So yeah, he's the kind of player that has attracted or has at least the ear of many big teams in Europe. He looks to be, according to multiple reports, he looks to be a preference of Andre Bata in terms of that role. However, reports also suggest that they may need to sell at least a player if they are to acquire his services, but their priority will be looking for a left-sided, a kind of winger. So we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of wingers, Manchester City and Manchester United have made inquiries to Bournemouth about, the conditions that would necessitate if any of them would want to sign Anton Spain. But Kenan Yildiz is a very, very brilliant player, very, very exciting player. Really, I mean, he came through the ranks of Juventus with Dinhausen and who was the other? There's another player, very exciting youngster, but we know what happened. Dinhausen went to Bournemouth, had a brilliant season, and he's since joined Real Madrid. So, but let us sell Martinelli. Okay, thank you. I don't know. Okay, maybe Martinelli is, out of the players that Arsenal would consider selling, especially when it comes to their forwards, I think it's Gabriel Martinelli that would fetch them slightly more money than any other because Leandro Trossard, I think with a year left to his contract, of course, we know he's 30, soon maybe turning 31. Then when you look at Gabriel Jesus, too injury prone, you never know whether he will complete a season injury free so that you can put him on the market. But even still then, he is not going to command the kind of fee for which you bought him for, which was around 45 million pounds, joining in from Manchester City. That was in the summer of 2022 and things like that. So when it comes to a player that is capable of fetching Arsenal some reasonable money, it will be Gabriel Martinelli. But then the question will be who would want to sign him. His agents or his representatives wouldn't want him to go to the Saudi Pro League, where he did attract a lot of interest. But Arsenal did not explore it or were not interested in selling at the time. Then it begs the question. Like I said, his entourage do not want him to go to the Saudi Pro League. They want him to stay in Europe. Then the question becomes who in Europe is willing to pay maybe top dollar. Maybe you're looking at around at least 45 million pounds to 40 to 50, anywhere in between there for his signature. Do you think PSG would come in for him? I do not think so, especially knowing that they have Bradley Bakola, they have Desli Doe, they have Senema Yuru, and all those, players in their ranks. So I do not see PSG as a possible destination. Bayern Munich have just signed Luis Diaz. So even though previously he's been linked with the potential move to Bayern Munich, doesn't seem like it will be the case. Maybe you fancy yourself that maybe a Premier League team comes for him. Would you want to sell to a rival if Manchester City were to come for him? I do not know. Would you sell to Manchester United? Maybe. Would you sell to Chelsea? I do not know if they were willing to buy. So when you go to the Italian Serie A, really teams will be interested in his services. I do not think Italian Serie A teams, I don't want to think they are broke. I do not know if they are broke, but they're oftentimes hesitant to pay top dollar. When was the last time you had an Italian club sign a player quite expensively or for that kind of fee? So when you look at the Spanish La Liga, unless Barcelona came calling, unless Real Madrid came calling, maybe Atletico de Madrid, all the others do not have, can't afford that kind of money. Premier League teams can afford it. Even if it's a Fulham, even if it's a Crystal Palace, even if it is an Everton. So, meaning when you scan around all over Europe, you could find that your best chance to sell him for the kind of money that you would want to sell him for would be to sell him to a Premier League team, So we'll just have to wait and see what Arsenal, what they can do. They could be looking to make that, Pierre Hincap deal permanent come next summer. So that's money that they are bound to spend because he's out there on loan. So we'll have to wait and see what decisions they will make in that course. Anyways, guys, allow me to wrap it up here, and I wish you a blessed night. Thank you so much, Kato Ponciano, for joining us from Luero, Bamunanika. I hope you've liked the broadcast. I hope you've subscribed to the channel. We are always here every single day, 9 a.m. Monday to Friday, and around 11 a.m. on Saturdays. Then every single day, Monday to Thursday at 11 p.m. Sometimes we're a bit late, but when you turn on your notifications, you'll always get us. And then that's Monday to Thursday, because on Friday we come at around 9 p.m. And then on Saturday at 11 p.m. and on Sunday at 11 p.m. That's when we do our live broadcasts to discuss everything regarding football. I do hope that the Uganda Cranes perform well at the Africa Cup of Nations. That one is kicking off tomorrow between Morocco and Comoros for the opening game at 10 p.m. East African time. So do not miss out on that fixture. Otherwise, allow me wish you a blessed night, and let's do this again tomorrow if God wishes. Otherwise, I do have a function to attend. I do not know how my Sunday will be going, but I hope it will be a blessed one and that everything will see us return to this podcast. You've been such a wonderful audience. Stay blessed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.